Hello everybody and welcome back to the KCM, a very special KCM indeed it is. Today Shun. We've got Protoss and Terran versus Zerg today. And we're going to be testing out the new maps as well. And so we're going to be starting out here. I've got the map names. Knockout is going to be the first map. I actually went in and tested some of these maps, and they're pretty interesting. This one especially. This is probably going to be a long-standing map, most likely.
Okay.
As it is it's very similar to like Circuit Breakers, yeah, and it's got some really unique features as well.
Yeah, I was taking a quick look at the preview. It looked a little bit like Circuit Breakers. I thought that's what you were getting at. But yeah, Flash is playing, man. That's absolutely blowing my mind. And they basically secured the fusion earrings from Dragon Ball and gonna be combining their power levels. We got two Protoss players as well as two Terran players teaming up against the Zerg race. It's pretty exciting. Pretty much all the best players are here. We were just talking a little bit off air about maybe you could change Sharp for Light, but the reality is Sharp's been performing really well as well.
Yeah, I haven't seen a Protoss lineup this good for a while. Like, when's the last time we saw Best and Snow together?
I know, right?
In a KCM. It's been a long time, but everybody's coming out for the return of Flash. I didn't think this was going to happen, guys. And if you're not aware of the controversy surrounding Flash with the coin, the cryptocurrency that he was promoting, you can take a look on my channel. That cryptocurrency scandal was pretty serious for a while, and KCM had some really strong things to say about it, so I thought that maybe there was a chance that Flash just wasn't going to be able to come back into the KCM. Maybe into the ASL, but maybe not the KCM. But here he is, entering the KCM first. It's an exciting day, Shun.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you were pretty much wondering if he would ever get in because of the animosity over that scandal. And yeah, KCM was pretty adamant that he was really pissed about it. But, maybe those tensions have chilled out. And, people can be a bit more understanding. We won't go too much into those details here. We've got Snow harassing Hero here in the bottom left. He's just playing something standard right now, just a quick overpull into expansion. Nothing too crazy yet from either player. And Snow, he's throwing down this Nexus before cannon, trying to optimize for economy just a little bit here.
Yeah, gonna do a little bit of blocking there. Nice moves by Snow to just slow down those first two links. He should have the two cannons done in time. And looking at this map, you can see... Oh, that's a great block there by Snow. He's buying so much time with this. Cannon definitely going to be finished, and Gateway's in a really interesting position.
Wow.
What's going on with the Gateway there?
Yeah, I don't actually know. I mean, you could argue this is to hide the Gateway. I don't know why he'd want to hide the Gateway here, but it might even just be an anti-run-by Gateway to make it harder if the Lings were to commit between this Pylon and Forge. It'd be harder to get back there. I don't know, actually. It's a bit strange, honestly. But I don't actually think that Hero spotted that gateway with the Zerglings. Maybe the Overlord can see it just on the corner. He's now shuffling his Overlord around a little bit. I have to think he has spotted the corner of that gateway, but I'm not sure.
Is there a possibility that he built the cannon too close and the gateway can't fit on the right-hand side?
Oh,
I mean,
you're right.
It's possible. I
Right.
feel like he should have been able to get it. Like, look at how many... if you look at the Forge and the Pylon, it looks like there's at least 3 hexes, right?
No, you're right. Yeah.
I mean,
No,
maybe it could fit.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
No. I think you're right, saying. I think it's 3 hexes, not 4, and that's why he hasn't built it there. So he's just kind of gone for like a next best option for it here.
Well, it's understandable. Brand new map here. This is going to be an ASL 20 map, guys, and it has this kind of interesting feature right in front of the natural where there's kind of like a dip. It's the inverse of what we've had a bunch lately. The kind of pyramid style of high ground. It's the opposite. It's more like a ditch that doesn't allow anything inside, a trench that doesn't allow anything inside to see out, and also it's a vision blocker, as well as it causes ranged units at the bottom of the trench to miss shots. So it makes it a lot harder to Hydra bust on a map like this.
Oh, absolutely. But I think sometimes also that will have a bit of double-edged sword shenanigans, in the sense of it gives you a false sense of security, like, oh, there's no way he's going to bust me with that trench there, and he still commits to it and still busts you because you didn't make quite enough cannons or enough sunguns to prevent a marine bust or something. So I definitely think that sometimes players will be tricked by it a little bit, and sometimes the missed chances might go the way of the attacker as well, and landing more hits than they would usually. So I think players should still be cautious when defending, but it does give you a little bit of an edge than some of these other maps would. A lot of pressure here from Snow, trying to do some 1-2 punch combinations by sending one zealot down here to the 6 o'clock. Now trying to squeeze in some zealots into the natural and main. Really nicely done by Hero, though, to catch these zealots coming into natural. He's going to clean those up without really losing anything besides a little bit of mining time lost here at the 6 o'clock.
Yeah, nice handling there. And I just want to keep talking about the natural a little bit here, because I wonder how powerful Hydralisk Lurker Contain is going to be on this map. Like, what if you get on the other side of that trench, and you're just set up with a ton of Lurkers and Hydras there, and the Dragoons are trying to push across that? I wonder how difficult that's going to be. It seems like a good strategy, but we really haven't seen many games on this map at all so far, so really excited to see what Hero's going to pull out here and how Snow's going to respond.
Yeah, I definitely think there'll be some slight adjustments to how they want to handle at least the engagements, maybe not the build orders too much, but at least how they navigate defending and attacking this choke point definitely could be some interesting ways of navigating for both sides. And yeah, I think a Lurker Contain would be a good shout here for Zerg, just making it really hard for, like, say, Dragoons breaking out of that Contain on the low ground, whereas even if you were aggressive with the Lurkers and you put them in the trench, they have no mischance up of their vision. So yeah, Lurkers would be a really good, both defensively and offensively, utilizing that trench.
Yeah, that's something a lot of people don't know, is that Lurkers do not have mischance, despite being a ranged unit. Does it even count as a ranged unit? It's something like a melee range.
Yeah,
I can't exactly remember. It is weird. There's a lot of strangeness in the Broodwar units, especially the ones that were released for the expansion Broodwar. And slight engage here at the front. Snow just going to sit back for now, add on some of these gateways. He's playing a bit of a teched out style, getting into this Templar archives pretty quickly, and having quite a few Corsairs here. Is he going to initiate an attack early, and will Hero be ready for that?
Yeah, have to wait and see. We've got 3 gases taken by Hero, so I imagine we're going to be seeing some kind of Muta Scourge action here. He's got the 6th hatchery on the way as well for a potential transition into 6-hatch Hydra. I'm curious though, are we seeing like 10 Mutas and like 12 Scourge, or is he not going to make too many of those? It does seem like he's going above and beyond the 5 count, so it does seem to indicate he wants to do some kind of Ogre Zerg gamer shenanigans. That's quite a lot of mutas he's already got there. Wants to potentially start sniping some of my Templars as well. He's got 7 mutas and a few packs of Scourge and more Scourge on the way. There's no cannon finish in the natural, so he's applying a lot of pressure right now. Couple of probes already biting the dust, and here comes a massive screening of Scourge as well to try and keep those Corsairs at bay while he takes out more and more of these probes over and over again with those Mutaclades.
Ooh, pretty good engagement there by the Corsairs, picking off a lot of that Scourge threat there. And it looks like Hero will have to back off. Some good moves though so far. I mean, usually he'll do this with about 5 mutas, but he's got a lot more pressure with this big number. He could start to snipe the Corsairs, and if he does, dive directly. And he's even gone for +1 armor here, Shun.
Yeah.
Really committing to this early mutalist play.
Oh, absolutely, and a lot more Scourge in production as well. Some safety creeps at the 6 o'clock in case he needs to morph a Spore or some Sunkens as well. Hero is applying a lot of pressure while also dotting his I's, crossing his T's back at home for a macro transition. Seems like Snow has had enough of that. He's sending out the full squad of Zealots down south, but there's 3 finished Sunkens and natural. Here comes a dive into the main base though. He's got an Archon on the way, High Templars en route, but both of the cannons will fall to these Mutalisks potentially. He will have to rely predominantly on those Scourge to connect with the Corsairs, but Preemptive Storm does connect and eliminates the majority of them. Drone Drill now coming out into the choke point in the natural, preventing any Zealot surface area or run-bys from occurring, but really great hold there from Snow. That Storm was critical, and he only lost a couple of those Corsairs.
Yeah, that was a great storm. Very hard to control those Scourge and prevent one storm from killing absolutely everything. Looks like he's going to get a free hit there, but the Corsair number is really high. There's going to have to be a transition here from Hero. I don't think there's any way for him to wrest air control back from Snow at this point, and a lot of Hydras are starting to pop out. Big round of Scourge here might have the opportunity to connect, but I mean, there's Templar making their way right up to the front now. Storms are going to be thrown down on these Hydras sitting back, and that can become very dangerous for the Zerg player.
Oh, absolutely. He'd almost be playing into Snow's hands if he did commit into more and more Mutalisks at this point. Snow's so confident he's just going to take a third behind this. He's got an Archon on the ground to act as point defense, which will one-shot Scourge as well. There's not really anything that Hero can do in the air now. Like you say, gonna have to just pump out as many Hydras as possible and hope that he's got enough drones to make a full-on transition while maybe trying to eye up a fourth base or what have you. But yeah, this is not going to be so easy for Hero now. Like, he has to kind of do something soon. He can't just allow Snow to casually take this third base uncontested. Some kind of pressure needs to occur.
There's that fourth base coming up, and when I did a little bit of practice on this map, playing ZVP, I kind of recognized that there's a lot of different pathways into these 4 bases. Down in the bottom corner. Oh my gosh! Oh, wow! Wow, you really don't expect to see something like that from Hero. Losing so many Hydras there, just sitting in a big clump. 10 Hydras to 1 Storm? That might actually just end this game, and you guys can forget about what I was going to say about the routes into these bases. My goodness.
I mean, if he's going to win this game, it's going to be a long time coming. He's going to have to just sit back and macro and hope he's going to be able to just saturate this 4th base and hope that his lurker aspect is going to be ready in time to morph those. But as you can see, not a lot of standing army available here to Hero, and there's no pressure on Snow. He doesn't have to attack and try and ram it down at the moment. This DT's not going to accomplish much. There are 3 Sunkens at both the natural and the 6 o'clock base. He could maybe try and slip that DT into this mineral only, which will only have Hydras on the lookout there. But as I was just about to say, Snow can just sit back, not worry, take a 4th base, power up, and there's not really many answers available from Hero now. He's going to have to play the long game and macro up really have any chance in this game.
Yeah, he's got a couple of choices here. If he wants to just make pure Hydra, try to break this 4th base as Snow's trying to take that. I mean, it's not a winning move, but it's going to start to bring him back in this game if you prevent that 4th for a bit, or he can go into Hive, and I don't see that Hive transition. So we're going to see Hero risk it here. He's going to try and get a good engage and stop that 4th base at all costs.
Yeah, it's not a bad option. It's not necessarily always going to net him value here, but he feels pressured to make something happen. I don't necessarily fault him for it. He can't really let Snow get away with a free 4th base like this, and yeah, you kind of have to force a fight here in some way, shape, or form. Let's see if he can get anything done with that. I'm not too confident that Hero will make this work. He seems to have powered up quite heavily though. Hero is one of the better macro players in the game and has got a pretty sizable standing army despite losing those 10 Hydras for free. Needs to be really on top of his unit control from here on now. He's got another control giver Hydras hitting the mineral only location while the main standing force is threatening this newly acquired 4th base at the 12 o'clock. Just kind of rotating around and sizing up Snow while still waiting for a big round of lurkers to hatch, and now he's also got a Queen's Nest on the way, so he actually is going to be going for that hive transition and taking a 5th base. This is the play I was initially expecting him to go for, but it seems like he's taking both of our schools of thought. He's applying pressure like he wants to be aggressive while he's setting up back at home for that full-on transition as well. He's trying to have his cake and eat it.
Where is the right position to set up these lurkers? My god, that's not it. Oh, wow. 5 lurkers. Dude, Hero's taking way too much damage from these storms. These are some incredible storms from Snow, and Hero's just not respecting them. He's not, you know, keeping control over these units and burrowing the lurkers like that all in a long line. You're begging to get stormed like that.
Yeah, I mean, Hero's macro is monstrous, but his unit control is really lacking this game. It has to be said. Snow's just out trading him at every venture. We'll have to see if that story changes anytime soon, but losing that many lurkers, that many Hydras for free in the early game might cost him now. He's got a pretty good supply and he's meeting Snow out in the open, but he identifies that he's not got quite enough to make up a critical mass to fight this. He's pulling back to a more defendable position, wants to just try and hold on to this 5th base in the bottom right, but he's being a little bit tactical here. He's got these 2 Mutalisks, you know, sniping probes at the 12 o'clock in a dead spot, which has no anti-air coverage, forcing the Corsairs back to defend. Just a little bit of distraction tactics while he sets up back at home. He's actually almost maxed. He's got a monstrous supply. He's done a great job of macroing game, as I said, but the unit positioning is not so great here. Look how clumped together all these lurkers are, for example.
Yeah, a bunch of these overlords too are probably going to end up going down. He's rotating around the backside, wants to get a flank on that army. He's actually burrowed his lurkers though, so he does not have lurkers with that army that's going around for the flank. You could really end up regretting that decision. Storms going down here on a lot of these lurkers. Finally, lurkers are brought forward. He's going to get that full surround. Now there's a few storms left, but how many remain here? Snow, will he be surrounded? Hero so stacked up right now with these Hydras and lurkers, and the storms are going to land very heavily on that army, opening up an escape path, and Snow does back away after taking that trade.
Yeah, I mean, some nice ideas there from Hero, but the execution just didn't amount to much. He's now back to being like 40-50 supply behind. He was close to matching the supply of Snow momentarily ago, and that's basically been eviscerated. Defiler Mound on the way. He's got some macro hatchery sprouting out in the bottom right quadrant of the map, but look at this warpath that Snow's on right now, taking the quadrant in the northeast now for himself, getting some defenses and a nexus set up there. If he gets that base for free as well, it's going to be insane. Hero knows about it. He just can't really do anything about it for the time being, at least. He's trying to find any kind of value trades that he can, but Snow's being a lot more wise with how he's engaging, how he's moving around the map, and isn't really losing many of his units in this game thus far. He's always trading well.
This is where things get very complicated for the Zerg. There's so many different attack paths like I was talking about before. You can kind of rotate over here towards these bridges. You can go up onto the high ground. You can go through the middle. You can go over to the right-hand side, go up onto that high ground and attack the 6 o'clock. There's just a lot of different areas for Hero to cover right now. He's got some lurkers here on the high ground that Snow's trying to break, but he could potentially go around this as well. If he holds the high ground, though, if he gets up here with all these Dragoons, this game might just end, Shun. The Dragoons have gotten up onto that high ground. There's no Dark Storm just yet. Some Hydras going forward for a counterattack, but there's just a ton of Storm, a ton of Dragoons, and Snow is not stopping here with a rally coming forward. He may just break this.
I think he is going to break this. He kind of needed those Hydras to defend, and even with those Hydras defending, it wouldn't be enough. Look at this. Like the value trades of Snow have been perfect from start to finish. Now even storming on top of the Nidus Canal network as well. There is not much hope from Hero. He's probably tilting his head to the side like, oh, come on, my macro was pretty good this game. I just couldn't get it together and pay attention to my units and avoid the storms. GG is called, and the first win on the board for the Fusion races, Protoss and Terran, who have had to team up to wipe out the Zerg threat that's currently challenging the entire universe, Sam.
Okay, here we go with game number 2. Snow versus Queen. Queen spawning over here in the top right-hand corner. And we're on that crazy map, Shun. The island map is going to be a ZVP. That's exciting.
I mean, there's not even any minerals to block these islands, so I wonder if in any of these games we'll see a command center just floated over to one of these at some point. Definitely a possibility. Yeah, it's definitely a really wild map. Almost takes me back to like the Lost Temple days when you just had like some random island maps in the midst of the normal 1v1 map in the center. I mean, I have no idea how this is going to play out. We've not seen hardly any games on these new maps, and especially at this kind of caliber of play in a really high-level tournament. So I'm really curious what both players have prepared for this, or if they even have anything specially prepared for it yet. It might still be too fresh in their minds.
This is a really hard map to break down, guys, but we'll do our best here. As you can see, ramp going into the natural makes it quite difficult for a early aggressive play to end up working, unless it's something like a Ling all-in or whatever. Hydra bust, not going to be as strong. Of course, Marine bust as well in ZVT. Going to be a little bit harder to pull off with that mischance. And then there's this really strange high ground right outside the natural. Now, I'm not sure if that's even still here because it was so weird. I thought that that might have actually been changed out, and we haven't seen it just yet. I took a look at the earliest version of the release of this map, and it was pretty wacky. Yeah, I don't see it anymore in the natural. There used to be a little high ground there.
Well, they do regularly make very constant changes to the new maps when they're in development, you know, just before the ASL gets underway, just purely because of, you know, balance issues. You want to get those changes out as rampant as possible and make sure the pros are adjusted to as an up-to-date version of the map as possible. And it does take a long time to figure out exactly how to make those maps as balanced for all three races and all those matchups. Seems like a very quick 3 hatchery play from Queen. Nothing too insane. He's like kind of banking on the fact that there's these really long rush distances. It's not like something like Eclipse where even though it's forced cross, there's a somewhat direct path leading to your opponent. We've got this really long kind of out of the way orientation towards getting to your opponent's base, so kind of was not too worried about any kind of early pressure disrupting him, I guess.
Yeah, and it's a good point. There's only one path from the left side of the map to the right side of the map, and it's that big bridge where the Overlord is floating right now. And so if you're able to set up on either side of that bridge, whether you're the Protoss or the Zerg, you can just kind of hold that location and prevent your opponent from really doing any sort of an attack. 4th base already, wow.
I mean, this is
4 hatch before gas is wild.
I experimented playing like this for some time a couple of years ago. It's really hard to pull off, but if you can pull it off, it's so good, because essentially you don't have to fully saturate all 4 bases right away. You just saturate the best mineral patches at all of the bases, so you have more minerals for less drones, which means you have more lava available to pump into units, so you can even turn it into an aggressive build or have more units to defend, or just pump more drones than you should be able to. There's nothing wrong with this. The only thing that's hard is defending on multiple fronts, not knowing where the zealots are coming from. But as you so astutely pointed out, there's only one path of attack from the ground, so maybe this is a very strong meta build from Zerg on this map specifically.
Well, this is super interesting. Snow going for an immediate robotics, and so he's not really going to have a lot of options to pressure this build from Queen, but he's going to have the ability to get over to these islands super early on, and it's going to be very hard to break him once he's got a Reaver on that high ground with cannons. Like, how would you ever break that with Hydra? Queen is going to have to you know, get this 4 hatch build going really quickly and then start to transition into some tech. Otherwise, Snow is just going to run away on the islands. I mean, there's so many islands here to expand to. Once the Protoss gets like 4 bases or a bunch of these islands locked down with cannons, it's going to be incredibly difficult for Queen to break any of that.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be a wild game, saying. Did you see that cannon was like finishing up at the 5th minute mark? Both players have been pretty exceedingly greedy in this game, and I imagine there's gonna be fireworks as a result. And Snow, he's got, you know, literally some of the best shuttle and Reaver control in the entire game. I mean, you've seen it time and time again from watching him play online. You know full well back at home how well he is at controlling those units. I imagine he's gonna really put Queen through his paces in this game. And honestly, the only counterplay from Queen is just being really on top of things and you know, intercepting that Reaver as it comes in every single time, having good scouting, always looking at the minimap 24/7. He might get caught with his pants down once or twice and lose a bunch of drones for free or something, and the game could be practically over. But just the fact that Snow has the option of taking a 3rd base guaranteed with this island is crazy. The one thing that makes this build bad is you're not guaranteed a 3rd base. If the Zerg keeps shutting down your expansion efforts and keeps you locked onto like 2 bases, they've got a really strong path of victory. But if you get a guaranteed 3rd base as Protoss, this is probably the most ideal build to go for.
That's a very good point. Corsairs going to scout that main base and see that the transition is coming. It still takes a very long time to get drops, though. You have to research first the Overlord speed, then the drop come online. It just takes forever to get both of those upgrades done. Now, sending in the first Reaver, gonna try and get some damage here. Oh, actually, just a couple of Zealots so far. There's the Reaver pops out, but oh my gosh. This is catastrophe here for Snow. Can he get a big hit? Oh, wow. That is really, really rough for Snow. Losing that first Reaver, I did not expect that to happen, Shun.
No, I didn't. I thought he was going to drop the Reaver behind the minerals and just be a little bit annoying and then pull out when he needed to. Unfortunately, a little bit of an unwanted pregnancy did occur there. Wasn't the plan, and has gone for doubled Stargate to really double down on that Reaver set composition, but I mean, that's not ideal. Like, I don't even know what to say about that. He's in trouble. Yeah, only one cannon finish. He's going to try and dive onto it actually and just pop it. I mean, he's got a few Zealots to kind of hold the line. He's going to have to pull probes to defend against this. This is insane.
Yeah, he might actually just die here. This is a bit of a miscalculation from Snow to lose that Reaver so early. He's going to go across the map, try to get something done with these Corsairs. Looks like he will get some Overlords, but these cannons are a far cry from finishing. Another Zealot pops out. Reaver is here, and so he should hold. He should live, but this has gone way off the wires. Just completely off the rails here for Snow. He is kind of falling apart, and Queen is going to be able to really seize control in this game.
Oh, absolutely. He's got 4 bases pretty fully saturated for a long time now, and there hasn't really been a lot of disruption to that besides supply blocking him by killing that Overlord just then. And Snow hasn't been able to saturate his own 3rd base. Meanwhile, all of this, he had to prioritize building an additional Reaver and, you know, stabilizing back at home. He's got like, I think, 1 probe built at this 3rd base. He needs to get more probes over there and actually make use of that. I mean, what's the point in building a Nexus, a pylon, and a cannon over there if he's not even mining from it? Here comes Queen picking off another cannon and just making this Protoss player more and more susceptible to a follow-up bust. With only 1 Reaver here, he's definitely not well defended.
No, 1 Reaver, 1 cannon, just not gonna cut it. Of course, the Zealots blocking that little gap is gonna be helpful. And this base is gonna get saturated now, but Queen has so many options. He could make a bunch of Mutas and try to overwhelm this with Scourge and Muta. He could get this drop upgrade going and try to get over there with the drops. By the way, they changed this map even further with the base down there, what Snow's taken. You got a high ground all the way around the outside, plus a big high ground location above the mineral patches. So that opens up a lot of different tactics here. And look at this. Snow comes in, he gets some kills on these Overlords, but back at home, there's just Mutas flying in. He could just go after the Reaver. He could kill the Reaver and then bust them.
He's going to do that. He's going to fly in the Reavers first. They'll take the cannon shots as well to tank for the Hydras. He's going to pop that Reaver like a zit, and then he can dive into the natural with the Hydras. And he's even going to gun down this shuttle as well after killing the second cannon. GG is caught by Snow. Really well played by Queen. I mean, you got to hand it to him. That was one of the better openings we've seen on a new map, and I really do like that build order choice from both players. I think those are probably two of the strongest potential builds you can go for on that map based on the rush distances and geometry and the islands being a factor. I think both players had a really good game plan, but Snow was too sloppy with the shuttle, and Queen capitalized.
Bit unfortunate we had that first, or that game the first time seeing that new map kind of go so sideways, but it sure would have been different had Snow managed to save that Reaver, man. That game could have become extremely interesting, but Queen finds the gap in the armor, builds that big Mutilus Swarm, it just kills the Reaver. Very nice timed out attack from him. Now we're here. I believe this is a Litmus, our next map.
Right, and it's kind of a bit of a weird one.
Yeah, it is, for sure.
Sorry. I was going to say it's a little bit like Optimizer in the sense that it's got these two gases in the main, one with obviously a lot less than 5,000 gas, similar to Optimizer, but obviously a 1v1 map, unlike Optimizer, so I have no idea how this is going to play out. It kind of reminds me of like a hybrid between like Blitz Y and Optimizer, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think it's actually more of a hybrid of Dark Origin. We've got the double ramp going down into the natural and into like a back lane that has a bunch of temples back there and some mineral patches as well. So there's like a weird fusion going on between a bunch of different maps, and it's going to be really interesting to find out how these guys want to play this one. It is a very long rush distance across, but there's so many lanes, similar to a map like Eclipse, or there's another map that's just kind of escaping me right now, the name of it, that has similar like ups and downs in the middle. One low ground lane, a high ground lane, and another lane that's even higher than that.
Yeah, I'm not so sure, but I definitely can see the Dark Origin now that you've said it. It's almost like they've Frankensteined these maps in the sense of it. They've taken ideas from 3 or 4 different maps and pulled them all into one and tried to create a new monster, a new beast to somehow master. And I think it's going to be a little bit tricky for these guys to navigate. You can actually see those two gases both have 3,000 apiece. I'm not sure if it's going to stay like that. I imagine they might want to change that and make one of them 5,000 and the other one like 1,500 or 2,000 or something. I'm not sure about them both being 3,000. That's a little bit of a weird situation there. I'll have to wait and see if that gets changed. Definitely some new ideas here from the map makers, and Drone going to be going the long way around the back. Is he mining up this mineral here, or what's he doing?
Oh, he's going to hop Lings over this wall. Yeah, he's going to try and get Lings in the back. Best going to pull his probe down here, and we'll end up finding out about this. Can he block it, though? He's probably going to need... like, what is he going to build here to try and stop this?
I don't even know. He might just have to like kill these Lings with probes. I mean, he kind of has to make a cannon in the main, yeah, but he has to wait for the pylon to finish as well, so that's not an easy solution. Queen! That is not easy to do, guys, to guarantee getting all of the Lings over like this. Probes definitely have to come off the line to buy time for the cannon, but it might not be enough. With all 6 Lings getting over so efficiently, he's going to potentially kill a few of these workers now. The cannon maybe will finish, but he also has a chance of putting pressure onto that pylon, forcing pulls off the line. A good circumnavigation of the probe drilling thus far. Gets a good servicer on that cannon as well. He can kill that cannon. It's going to go down, Saiyan, and now he's in a lot of trouble. Might catch 2 of these Zerglings afterwards, but killing that cannon's a really big deal, and now Best is going to have to be really on top of his multitasking.
Absolutely. He is having a hard time here. 3 Lings remain. With that cannon down, these 3 Lings could net a lot of damage in this main base and prevent this gas from being mined for quite some time. Finally, that gateway finishes. A Zealot is going to be made here shortly, but Queen is definitely bursting ahead. Now, he did seem to supply block himself a little bit here. You can see a lot of unused larva here as he's waiting for that overlord. So, you know, doing all of that, you know, hopping the Lings over with the drone and then sending the drone back and then trying to micro here against the probes and killing that cannon, does come with a cost. And a lot of attention was spent here, and Queen might have slowed down his own macro a little bit as a result of that.
Yeah, not many players can keep up with this high of execution while hitting all their beats back at home. It's one of the things that makes Snow a very good Protoss versus Terran player. He's able to do all those micro shenanigans while he's got an internal mapping of the macro beats he also needs to hit in his rhythm and the cycles. So not all players can do that though, especially when there's like freestyle situations where you didn't necessarily expect that you needed to execute in quite that way, and you've not quite got it mapped out as someone like Snow who does it so often that he's got it, you know, kind of, you know, internalized. So hopefully Queen's not missed 2 of those beats back at home, and he can keep the pressure on with this task switching ability. And honestly though, I think it's good enough. Like, even if he has been slown, oh, he's making a lot of Zerglings right now. Is he thinking about just trying to run over Best right now?
That's a possibility, getting that Ling speed online. There's not really a good wall at the front for Best. You could just run by into the main base too. You don't have to jump on these cannons.
Oh gosh, he's gonna kill him.
Yeah, he might do. Best thinking about throwing down into the building here. He's got the probe there, but he hasn't built the building yet, and the Lings are just gonna come flying past. 2 cannons is gonna go down so fast. Oh my goodness. Everything falling apart here for Best, and these new maps are... The games are going very short on these new maps.
Yeah, you can just see how 3 Lings in the main completely changed the dynamic. He made the gateway in the main to optimize his situation, but that meant less of a wall in to work with, and Zealots were in the main distracted with the cleanup duties and not blocking the gaps in the natural. Queen knew about that eventuality and wanted to exploit it. It's great win condition isolation from Queen there. Definitely not too unexpected. And that's why these players have, you know, combined their forces to try and tackle Zerg. They've just been on an absolute rampage recently, and someone has to put a knife in this overmind.
All right, Protoss has been eliminated, but the show is not over, guys. There's still a revive in the pocket on either side. This is going to be similar to, you know, a KCM semifinal or final, the special match today, the special event. We're going to be bringing out Sharp now over in the top left-hand corner. Can the Terran players do it and take the win off of the Zerg squad? Solkey and Jaedong still in the back pocket, though. It's a long road ahead.
Yeah, he's going to have to get into his barber mindset here and give Queen a nice little haircut to help line up the chances for his team. Definitely that equalizer right now. Just because Flash is in the back pocket, you can't expect him to do all the heavy lifting. It's not like he's in as dominant fashion as he was back in the Kesper era. He's obviously still a force to be reckoned with, but he's not really had the kind of practice hours that he would desire. You know, he's in rehab, like I think 4 days a week, is it, or something? It's crazy. Like, he's not really able to put in the kind of practice that he wants to, so we can't expect Flash to kill Queen, Solkey, and Jaedong here, even though he's definitely capable of doing it. I hope Sharp can actually find the victory here to make this series really interesting.
I want to see Flash get the 3-peat with his mech style. Dude, he has been really showing a fantastic level with that mech, and actually a lot of players are starting to copy him as well. His mech is so good. He is able to take down Solkey in the Pro League with that mech play in like the ace match. Crazy strong mech style. Now, Sharp is probably not going to be opening that way, but like, he's much more of a MM player. He does like to mix in vultures and can get some really good damage done with that, but he's not really a 1-1-1 type of guy or a mech type of guy.
Well, mech is definitely not as stressful on the hands and the brain, actually. And, you know, it's a lot less intensity. Bio versus Zerg is the most mechanically intense way of playing the game, essentially. So, yeah, going mech is a lot more chill, and he can still use his finesse and expertise to squeeze every little drop of juice out of the fruit as well along the way. Good interception from the drone here, utilizing the high ground to get a few extra spits onto that Marine before finally calling it day, looping it up with the Hawk Tour there. 3 hits in total. Usually you only get about 2 before having to pull back, but with the high ground advantage, was able to get out another hit on that. It's going to make it easier to clean up this attack in a few moments here. Sharp wants to apply a lot of pressure to Queen early.
Yeah, Sharp coming across the map with these first couple of Marines. He's probably going to have to turn around, though. This is cross map, and he's seen everything. Queen knows that this is coming, but he's got one drone off on the side, 2 HP on that. Just killing this one drone and then backing away would actually be worth it for Sharp. So he's really trying for this and trying to get these kills. The Lings are coming, though. Gotta be careful here not to lose these Marines without getting any damage done. That would put him in a big deficit.
Yeah, I mean, the SCV did manage to bump bellies momentarily there with the drone, but Ling's going to be coming in to escort that drone back to safety. The only thing he really achieved there was a little bit of lost mining time when all's said and done. So he's taken out a few pennies from the lunch money of Queen with this maneuver, but wasn't getting quite what he wanted to in the end of it. And I mean, he's going for a slightly faster eBay and Academy build here, kind of a light style. Makes me think that he's going to do a bit of a delayed push and maybe hope for a sunken bust, because Queen's not really put out that many sunkens. He's going to just defend against the initial muta pressure and then really go on the counter offensive against Queen. Probably with a 3 or 4 rack setup. I imagine 4 racks would be ideal because it's cross map. You kind of need a bit of extra steam to make it work.
Yeah, I love the 4 racks from Sharp. I think it's his strongest way of playing, and he can transition this into mech later if he wants to. He can go crazy with drops. He could just play straight up SK Terran style also and throw in a bunch of irradiates all over the map. Just put that pressure onto Queen and start to grow himself with the option of taking a lot of these bases. Like the base just to the right of the main of Sharp, that third, very defendable. And then the base at the 12 o'clock, also very defendable as well. You get a couple bunkers up there, a few Marines. You can go into a 4 base really, really quickly and get yourself into a very nice late game spot. At the same time, though, Queen has a lot of options for bases he can take. Sneaking out a hatchery somewhere on the map might be his best option.
Absolutely, and it is going to be that 4 racks there from Sharp like we expected. What will Queen want to do here? He's probably going to skip as many defenses as he possibly can. He might even just not throw down any sunkens for quite some time, and that might be what Sharp is banking on, like just defending against the muta as well, and then going on the counter offensive, knowing that there's probably not going to be a strong enough transition into lurkers or sunkens being made to defend against that potential timing push that he's going to elect to do here. And 4 racks does allow you to come out onto the map much earlier than usual because of the added fighting power of those Marines. Gives you a lot more map control potential, and the mutas kind of have to respect that.
Yeah, once you have range and +1 done, then for sure you have that potential to come out on the map. But up until this point, hasn't been able to do that. Doesn't have a 5-minute timing here with the 2 racks or anything like that. He's got the 4 racks rolling, though, and he's in a very good defensive position. It's going to be hard to crack him open here. 7 mutas, the perfect number for one-shotting these SCVs. Maybe Queen can come through and get a few kills here and start to get the ball rolling on his side. He really does need to get a bit of damage, but Sharp is already going to push out. He's got a lot of Marines ready to go. As it is with the 4 racks, you just have a lot more muscle to force the mutalist player to engage with you and not allow you to just walk across this map unhindered.
Yeah, he's going to try and intercept the little reinforcement train of Marines. So he's cut off a little bit of force from managing to combine their arms and go on a massive assault. He's still got a pretty sizable Bible out on the map, applying some pressure indirectly without really making much ground. But he would have really liked to join forces with those additional Marines from the rally point. He's going to probably try and set up for that now. Just try and map out where the Mutalisks are, and now try and come back to rejoin forces once again with his brethren and get another control group worth of fighting power into this Bible, so he can really start to ramp up the aggression on Queen and make Queen be a little bit hesitant going forward, because you don't really know how much control you have. Sometimes you just want to pump non-stop mutas and keep challenging this and not really worry about it, but sometimes you have to throw down Sunkens and respect it.
Yeah, it comes down to like the critical mass of Marines. At about 3 control groups of Marines, with a good number of medics mixed in there as well, the Marine force just, it really isn't challengeable by Mutalisk Ling anymore. And you have to rely on those sunken colonies and the lurker transition. Sharp scanning there in the natural sees no sunken colonies whatsoever, and he's going to get this third rally here and combine that army, and you need something more than just pure muta to stop this. Queen, he could end up getting bowled over by this insanely powerful early game army. This is really going to hurt if he doesn't have any extra defenses.
Oh, absolutely. He's got a few Zerglings to help try and mop up this, and another pack of Mutalisks off to the side as well. But he needs to shave off more than this to make the trade go his way. Sharp being very proactive, scanning the high ground positions as well to keep the DPS alive on those mutas as they dip in and out right now. He could also swing down into the bottom left and take out this third base as another potential win condition for him. Here comes a massive swarm of Mutaling, though. He's thinking he's siphoned off enough to make it work. I think he's actually got it. There's just barely enough Mutaling here to clean up this force. Queen has navigated this pretty well. I feel like Sharp kind of hooted hard a little bit too long. Rotating down into the bottom left would have been a better play, taking out that base down there. And they also would have had the high ground to funnel the Zerglings onto. Unfortunately, he was kind of hedging his bets too much and maintaining the map control in the center, and ended up paying the price.
You know, I really like him hiding underneath that sign there, the doodad of the sign, because the Lings are having a hard time moving around that. But yeah, I just didn't quite have enough bio because too much was shaved off by Queen. Queen being the barber today and taking a little off the top over and over and over again, and then eventually overwhelms that with Ling Muta. It's pretty hard to do against the 4 racks, but he's managed to accomplish it here and is going to be rewarded with a pretty sizable lead. And now he's got a lot of map pressure on Sharp, and he will have lurkers behind this, so he can start dumping all of his gas now into upgrades rather than continuous Mutalisk production.
Yeah, it turns out Sharp has got Sweeney Todd for competition right now, and definitely looking pretty healthy. More or less even supplies. Nidus Canal network being set up. Defile Amount just popped. He's got all the tools necessary to take this into a long standard game. The pressure is on Sharp to start laying siege to Queen and apply the necessary pressure. He hasn't actually got any lurkers just yet in position down here. He doesn't see any lurkers on the ramp. There is one that's popped. He could morph an egg on the ramp as well to block, but I don't actually think Queen has noticed this. This is a big weakness for him. He's going to have to quickly shuffle some units through this Nidus Canal. Sharp taking advantage of this momentary vulnerability, and now he could also get on top of this Nidus and pop that as well. I can't even believe what I'm seeing. How could Queen leave himself this open? This is crazy to me. Like, I don't even know what to say about this. Like, this is just Queen not having his I's dotted or his T's crossed in any way, shape, or form, and really getting too cocky after killing that Bible group.
Well, I felt like he had vision of that as it was coming across the map, as all those Marines were coming, but it seems like he must not have. When you see the engagement there and the way that plays out, you know, all the forces of Queen on the other side of the map not prepared to take that fight at all, to protect that base at all. Queen gonna try to make up for that by taking center right, but it's so hard from this spot. It is so incredibly hard. 2 gases is just not going to cut it here when he's trying to make lurkers and defilers. He's going to have to rely heavily on lings, and that's when fire bats can become extremely potent, and we can see some fire bats coming out here, and probably going to be followed by more for Sharp.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely so. I mean, there's not really a lot of hope for Queen to take this to a normal macro game. Now, he's got the 3 o'clock base coming up. He's got some lurkers on the low ground to try and set up a perimeter defense around that, to also try and have some kind of control of the lane leading towards that. He hasn't got a Nidus Canal set up there, so he needs to have some kind of lane control to keep shuffling out units like this. That's why he's been so proactive with the Defiler right now. Sometimes offense is the best form of defense, and he's just trying to gain as much ground as possible to keep Sharp from anywhere near his rally point or this third base, so he can also transfer drones to it. It's really important that he maintains that lane of control, similar to what you do in a Terran versus Terran or something. And I mean, but Sharp's going to have a third base floated over in just a second here, and Queen is yet to establish a third gas. You can see he's got a lot of minerals, but he has got no gas to spend them, so just pumping lings is really his only option. I don't like Queen's chances in this game, but he is taking a 4th base to try and supplement.
Yeah, the double expansion is pretty risky, but it's definitely a necessary risk. 2 science vessels go down to just the Mutalist control. That's a bit of a mistake for Sharp. Should have been able to pull those back to the protection of the Marines in time. +2 is now done for Sharp, so he's hit a bit of a power spike here. And he is continuing to make those vessels and just pressure over and over again, killing off more and more of these lurkers. And I really don't see a way of Queen holding on to this 4th unless Sharp just doesn't check there.
Yeah, that's a good point. He might just not identify it. I have to think he has scouted it, though. Yeah, he's got his army rotating down there now. Definitely does know about it. He's going to now set up a timer on killing that. Plague does start to come out, gets connections on 2 of those vessels. The 3rd one biting the dust. He's going to kill all of these vessels in the sky, say. I don't even know what to think about that. Can Sharp just bust through right now? There's only 1 lurker more thing. He kills the Sunken. There is not enough mutas here to micro down all of these bio units, I don't think. There's some lurkers rotating down from the 3 o'clock base, but if Sharp just micros these Marines appropriately, he might better gun down these mutas and keep repositioning the Marines to avoid direct conflict with those lurkers and still get a kill on the hatchery. Oh, this is the kill move for sure. Even if that attack in the natural does fail now, that 3rd is going down guaranteed, and after killing the 4th as well, Queen has to tap out. GG is caught, and we do have that equalizer match there.
All right, as much as I love Sharp, I hope he doesn't go on a all-kill spree here. He's going up against Soul Key next. I definitely do want to see Flash play, of course. I'm sure a lot of you guys out there can agree with me on that. Soul Key down here in the bottom left-hand corner, Sharp in the top right, and really clean finisher from Sharp, but a huge mistake from Queen. Even allowed that to begin anyway, but you got to give it to Sharp for just finishing that off with such grace. Like, even though he was going for even though he was losing a lot of those vessels, he was just so active with the Marines and breaking through everywhere, hitting every single base at the same time. And now he's gonna center Rax versus Soul Key. This is wild.
Yeah, just a single Rax though. It's not like a BBS crazy all in. He's leaving himself some small chances of transitioning, but it's still pretty aggressive when you make the Rax in the middle rather than just a bit forward. It's very committal. It's kind of semi all in. You do need to do damage with that to be able to transition normally. You're looking for at least 2 drone kills to kind of be even. Ideally, you would like to have 3 or more to be ahead and close out the game more comfortably. He's going to be looking for at least 2 drones just to avoid falling by the wayside in the curve of the game here. But it's got a gas follow-up as well, Sam.
Yeah, you kind of have to go for the gas follow-up when you're placing your racks out here like this. You're never going to be able to float that back into your wall in time, that rack. So you need a vulture to be able to kind of be the stopgap when the Lings start to come out here after the damage has been done with the Marines. And so Marines are going to start to be pumped. 2 have been made, and Drone is none the wiser here, sliding around the side, going to be heading up into the top right. He will find out about this soon. Is there going to be a proxy factor, or is this going to be a proxy or a factory back at home, though? That's going to be an interesting question coming up.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. I mean, if he's got a second SCV out here, he could start building it, but he might want to keep the second SCV to continue the pressure. So he might not want to start this factory out on the map. He probably will just throw it down in his main base. Lots of drones hitting this first SCV that's building the bunker, but he does lose a drone and doesn't finish off that SCV. He's now desperate to get this around on these Marines, but another drone biting the dust, the third close to falling as well. The attack is being so far well done by Sharp. The Sulky trying to circumnavigate disaster, go around the outside. Another drone falls though. This is crazy. Even a 4th drone going down. Sulky in a lot of trouble. He's applying pressure with the drone scout, trying to delay that factory from being built, but Sharp able to task switch, has another drone on top of that, and 5 drones locked out from mining.
Yeah, he is going to have a vulture here soon, and there are 3 drones mining right now for Sulky. A second bunker gets started. Yeah, this is so deadly. Incredibly hard to break double bunker, and it really doesn't cost too much for Sharp to get this going. Just that extra 100 minerals makes life so much more difficult. Can he get in there? He does get in the second bunker, so he's going to split the Marines and start to repair here. Drones come up from behind. They're going to start to target down onto these SCVs. Marines pop out. Those Marines are going to try and do some work here. Are any more of these drones going to fall? One more drone does go down at the end of that fight. Dude, Sharp doing some amazing micro there to keep that damage going, and he needs a sunken desperately now. Sulky is so low on drones, he has to build the sunken. Oh, it's so painful.
I mean, Sharp is just making everyone know that there was no mistake about picking him in this lineup. There's a reason why he's here alongside Flash. He's got a lot of tenacity and finesse in his play. Sunken on the way, but is not going to be in time to stop this vulture, but applying more and more pressure to these drones. That's more lost mining time that he's sustaining right now. He will eventually lock out this drone with the timing of that sunken, but all those drones stopping mining for just a few moments is really painful for Sulky to bear after the amount of damage he has had to weather thus far in this game. There's even going to be a Wraith applying pressure in a moment.
Yeah, this is Sulky. He is a 4-time ASL champion. I mean, winning 4 times in a row is incredibly impressive, and we kind of look to this guy for the kind of the answers to how Zerg is supposed to play. In most cases, he has those answers for us, but here today, it's Sharp who's got the answer, and he is putting on so much pressure. He's going to force a Hydra Den out here, and that Hydra Den's not even going to be done in time. Many Overlords are going to start to fall, and we could even see some drone losses as well as that Hydra production starts up. Dude, he's going to lose an Overlord and not be able to make Hydras. Yeah, GG.
No. Yeah, GG. Oh my, I don't even know what to say about this. I mean, there could be a situation where Sharp goes on a warpath and we don't even get to see Flash play. I mean, I'm kind of now joining you. As fun as it would be to see Sharp go on a bit of a no-kill rampage, at the same time, we want to see Flash play, and how Sharp is performing out of his mind, and we might not actually get to see Flash at this rate. Jaedong and a revive are what remains here for the Zerg race. They can revive Sulky or someone going forward, but I'm a little bit concerned that we're not even going to get to see Flash now, Sam.
Flash getting some extra rest for his wrists as Sharp takes the helm. He's spawning down here in the bottom left-hand corner. Jaedong over in the center right. Dominator has been revived for this upcoming season of the ASL, along with Radion, of course. We saw that last, but those are some of the maps that have kind of stood the test of time and are going to continue to be in this pool. Very curious to see if Jaedong gets knocked out here. Are we going to see that sulky revive, and will he be able to clutch it out versus Sharp?
Yeah, I'm not so sure. I'm really happy though that we got maps like Dominator at least sticking around for the time being. We've got some really great maps in the pool. Saying would be a shame to say goodbye to too many of them. They've become kind of staples in the scene and kind of should remain to be so for at least a little bit longer. How well is Jaedong performing? That is the question. He has kind of had some hit and miss moments in the StarCraft scene as of late. You never really know what Jaedong you're going to get. He's a really skilled, talented individual. He's a little bit older now. Probably can't put in as many practice hours as he once did. Although I think he didn't actually practice nearly as much as people think he did back in the day. He was just that good naturally. Kind of like Nada.
Kind of like Frieza. Never really practiced. Just one of the best in the universe. Relying on that natural talent maybe. I'm not so sure, but you know what would be amazing here? Actually, if Jaedong takes down Sharp, we would get a Jaedong versus Flash match, which brings a little smile to my face, man. This is a classic matchup.
Oh, I think. Do you reckon the script writers over at KCM have planned this, and they're going to be like, okay, we just need Jaedong to eliminate Sharp, and then we've got Jaedong versus Flash for a finisher, and then both revives could go on both of those players. Like, imagine they have a really epic 1v1, and then either Flash or Jaedong gets revived, and then the other guy wins, and they revive, you know, the guy again, and we get to see a rematch between Flash and Jaedong for the climax of the series. I mean, that would be pretty epic.
Yeah, that would be pretty spectacular. I was actually thinking that might be Sulky. Maybe Sulky was going to be left to the last, and that he was going to, you know, clean up and go off versus Flash, and there was going to be a double revive for a best of 3 there. But the script writers always have something surprising for us here at the KCM. They always like to mix it up. And so we're going to get an interesting finisher here either way. Layer gets started. This is looking like a 2-hatch muta play from Jaedong, and you can't blame him here with Terran spawning in the bottom left.
No, it's the worst position for Terran to get. There's this massive dead zone behind the minerals. Some people seem to think that the top left is worse because the gas is wide to the minerals, so it's hard to, you know, do maximal zone coverage with the turrets and how you spread them. But it's actually the bottom left that's the worst because of this dead zone that can be exploited in the bottom left, and rotating from that to the minerals in the natural and the ramp, and just being really annoying and not really allowing Terran even a good position to put their tech buildings as well, so the mutas can exploit that on top of everything else. So just a little bit problematic for Terran to have to navigate. And yeah, there's definitely going to be a 2-hatch muta timing with the fact that the lair started at like 553 rather than 253 rather than something like a 302 lair would be more indicative of a 2.5 hatch.
This is actually looking like a bit of an older match, kind of like you know, from the early days of Soma, when he was so focused on doing 2-hatch and muta plays, all-ins like that, and Terran players were completely dead set on the 2 racks pressure. Stim timing, and we saw those builds go head-to-head over and over and over again before the eBay +1 early build into 4 racks came into prominence, and we're gonna see Sharp move out here pretty soon, right before that 5-minute mark, try to put on that pressure, and these 2 builds are gonna clash once again.
I mean, Zerg players just got really good with their Mutalist micro in general, and Terrans had to figure something out. And for a while, we saw Valkyrie builds to try and combat that. And then, you know, they needed something a bit more well-rounded that wasn't as, like, kind of semi-all-in the sense of delaying their tech and their vessel count so much. So, yeah, the 4-racks is kind of a happy middle ground, allowing you map control, putting a lot of pressure and being aggressive, but still not delaying your vessels and what have you too much. And this is interesting. He's having to block the gap with SCVs and double repair 1 SCV. That's kind of cute from Sharp, actually. A lot of Terran players might have fumbled the ball there and let those Zerglings in, but nicely done from Sharp. And he's got a full-on timing attack here. I think this Sunken will just barely finish now, so he could run by those. Okay, he doesn't want to go for that. There are moments where Terrans can run by in those situations when the Lings are out of position. It's not advisable usually because the mutas will pop out soon and what have you, but sometimes there are moments where run-bys are actually viable, especially on like those weird maps like Destination back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, the Lings out here with the two sunken colonies makes it impossible for Sharp to kind of break in. He's done the job, though, what he was looking to do, force 2 sunken colonies, which really slows down the production of mutas here. That first round of mutas is going to be a lot less potent because you just can't quite make as many all at the same time when that Spire finishes. So gonna come in here and actually kills the turret over the barracks. That's a little bit scary. You don't want to be losing control of this barracks area at the bottom of the ramp. You have to get turrets over here to protect this construction zone, this area where Marines are going to be pumped out of. And he even pulls back the other racks here. Just needs to get this SCV to finish the turret, and this goes right through into the back. All these mutas are going to be in that dead zone you were talking about earlier, Sean.
Yeah, and he can just rotate into the natural, pick up a few SCV kills there, come back to the dead zone, rinse and repeat, and Sharp could be in a little bit of trouble. He's done a good job of bruising some of these mutas though, so he has done an okay job at making it a little bit difficult for Jaedong to just full-on capitalize on killing non-stop SCVs. So we would generate those mutas up just a little bit here. He's mining from 3 gases now, so we can make a total of 9 mutas a minute to apply pressure to Sharp. And you could go for a free hatch muta all in a situation like this. But with how many turrets that Sharp has made is probably not the most advisable thing. And you can see Sharp is worried about Jaedong going for a play like that. He's got a bunker defending the natural to prevent Ling run-bys killing those turrets as well, but doesn't feel safe. Still wants to throw down additional turrets and really tighten up against the possibilities here from Jaedong. He knows he could pull the trigger on a 3 hatchery all-in muta.
Yeah, it's interesting. Jaedong, I think, putting in a lot of money to that drone line, pumping on a lot of drones at this point, just using this group of mutas at the back line in that back corner to threaten Sharp and keep him in his base, and it's working out beautifully so far. Sharp has just been sitting here, not putting any pressure onto Jaedong, who's managed to get a bunch of drones out and really get this transition underway. His base in the top left is getting saturation, and now there's 2 groups of mutas, one on either side of his base. So this is really a tough situation for Sharp.
Yeah, and there's 7 mutas in that pack on the right, so he can one-shot the SCVs and keep slowing down this tech timing. Look how long he's delaying this starport. These are very critical buildings for Sharp right now. It's delaying his potential +2 timing, as well as getting those much-needed vessels out. Scans the main base, sees the hive, sees the dead, knows this isn't a fully all-in committal, and now the other 7 mutas rotating around for more and more SCV kills in the main base. Masterfully done by Jaedong. Way back when he could even micro 2 control groups of mutas simultaneously when he was at his absolute peak of pinnacle perfection. But it's been a long time since he was at that stage. But he's doing a kind of lesser version of that now, utilizing 2 of these packs at either end, kind of how you'd play against mech a lot of the time. Have 2 control groups of mutas swinging in and out from different angles over and over again and trying to exploit the immobility of the Terran player. And he's done that here even against a bio user, which is really exceptional. Finally, though, I think a critical mass has been achieved by Sharp to start to come out onto the map and apply pressure.
Yeah, this is a weird position for Sharp, but it's not over by any means. He's lost a lot of SCVs, and he's been slowed down quite a bit in his tech, so definitely Jaedong has an edge. But anything can happen. You start to throw down some vessels, you start to, you know, hit some mulatto ships, throw some mulatto ships into the main base, something like that, and suddenly the Terran can make a pretty strong comeback. These units in the middle of the map, though, unfortunately, they're all going to go down. Sharp heading towards this natural. There are 2 lurkers there, though. Is this a moment where he could potentially break through? Jaedong not moving his lurkers in the middle of the map. He's actually going to come over here and set up a huge hold position lurker play. Can he catch this entire bioforce? It will be massive.
Oh my god, it's going to be so huge if he does pull the trigger on that. I think he is. There it goes. Massive subterranean spine connections on those bio units. Sharp in absolute disarray. I knew the script writers had this plan for us then. They wanted Jaedong to absolutely pull Sharp apart in this game so we could see that showdown between Flash and Jaedong in the climax. I don't know who's going to get revived. You could argue that Sulky should be the one revived as like the kind of player that's got the most experience and accolades at the present era, but who knows, if Jaedong's playing out of his mind and performs well against Flash on top of that, he could be the player revived, and maybe that little bit of a wishful thinking I had earlier might come to pass. It definitely is lining up to be that way so far, Sam.
Yeah, Sharp is in a really rough spot. It's still not over. We saw him versus Queen manage to thread the needle with his army and get in on top of this third base, but it's looking less likely here against Jaedong. Jaedong has all of the tools now, with the Defiler Mound coming up and on the line soon, getting that Consume upgrade out and already moving to take a fourth base. He is just so smooth here in his transition, getting hitting all the beats and getting this drone count up very quickly with all the upgrades he needs. It is going to be very tough for Sharp to make a comeback. Not impossible, but very tough.
Oh my gosh. So he's going to have like multiple stack lurkers with 5 lurkers total. One of them has been irradiated underneath an overlord at the top left natural, and 2 Sunkens, 3 lurkers underneath an overlord in the natural expansion. This is like almost picture perfect defense here from Jaedong, but Sharp going to pull the trigger on it anyway. Tries to target us down. Some Zerglings trickling out though to make that target firing a little bit more difficult with the A move. Usually you'd need A move to clean this up because the overlord over the top of it, and Jaedong had a trail of Zerglings coming out at the perfect time to disrupt that. Really, like, I can't even begin to explain to you how good it is for Jaedong to have just a few Zerglings there. You need to use A move to kill those lurkers because of the overlord floating above it. So just having even a few lings coming out at that moment meant that Sharp couldn't pull the trigger on that bust attempt. Just really picture perfect defense from Jaedong all around, and actually slightly ahead in supply now.
Well, Sharp pulled the trigger on that attack, but the gun was pointed at his own head. He takes a huge loss there, and Jaedong skips further ahead. He is now ahead in supply and moving towards, no doubt, a bunch of Ultralists here with that big gas bank and a 4th gas coming online. Sharp needs to make a move and try to break down Jaedong here before he fully comes online. 4 dropships in the natural is going to be his answer. Oh, another vessel goes down and a plague as well. This is getting rough for Sharp, but he's opened up a pathway into that top left. Can he drop and kill the Nidus Canal? Prevent reinforcements from coming through in time and break open Jaedong here in this scrappy game.
Well, he's a gambling man, saying he's got these lottery-sponsored dropships loading up right now, going for a big Hail Mary attempt in the main base in this top left quadrant. Scourge are en route to block that though. Oh, he splits off all of the Scourge. He doesn't quite find the 3rd kill on that dropship though, so actually quite a lot of bio does get out of this. If he'd only had connected with that 3rd dropship with the Scourge, that would have been so good from Jaedong, but now there's enough bio to actually put a lot of pressure on. Plague does come out to soften up that bio. There's only 6 mutas there. Has got a Zergling counterattack going on at the 9 o'clock position to keep things alive in terms of his own efforts on the other side of the map, but this is still a pretty nice cleanup crew that Jaedong has been able to piece together. I thought for a second there with 2 dropships worth of units, Jaedong could have been in a little bit of trouble, but he stays calm and collected under the craziness and the pressure and still manages to come out of that shit pipe looking clean, Sam.
And on top of that, he's got another Nidus in the natural here at the top left, so he can easily reconnect these 2 bases. 1,800 gas in the bank. So many Ultralists are about to pop out, and the upgrades are looking fantastic. That +2 must be on the way here for Jaedong, and it'll be finishing up here soon. That's the big timing when all of those Ultralisk upgrades are done, and then you've got the +2 Carapace when things really start to get out of control.
Oh yeah, you're absolutely right, Sam. This is going to be really hard for Sharp to sustain. You can see a little bit of the gas starting to deplete now. He's just waiting on more and more trickle of minerals to come into the bank to keep spending that gas. You'll see a lot of that gas starting to disappear wherever he's banked up like 200, 300 or so minerals, and another Ultralisk can go into production here. He'll also make a few Scourge every now and then, a Defiler here and there, but for the most part, he's trying to squeeze out as many of these Ultralisk units as he can to really ramp up things in this game. With 4 gases online, 1200 gas a minute, you can make so many forces to throw down the Terran's throat. That's 6 Ultralisks a minute for the Terran to keep up with, and they will usually struggle to do so unless they've got a massive fleet of vessels in their standing army, and he certainly does not. He's made too many drop ships. He's had too many of those vessels sniped. This is going to be really tough for Sharp in this game. He's going to try and go for another dropship attempt in this game to keep the pressure on Jaedong's side of the map. He doesn't want to allow Jaedong to come out onto the map and apply pressure to him just yet. He hasn't got +3 weapons finished up.
Yeah, he wants to come in here with this drop, but Scourge come in. He's got a Lurker just sitting in that main base and a ton of Ultras. And generally speaking, once the Ultras are out, drops just are not so effective. You can get a bunch of Marines in there, but not enough to target down an Ultralisk, and usually just one Ultralisk is enough to deal with one single dropship worth of units. And especially with these upgrades, that +1 attack, going to be making these Ultras chomp through the army so much quicker. Starting to push forward here with the Defiler and a bunch of Ultras, Lings in the mix as well, bringing the Scourge up here so that these vessels can't push forward and actually get irradiates on the Defiler as well. So the Defiler is going to come up behind this. The Ultras are right on top of everything. He's going to drop the Dark Swarm and completely annihilate this army, and there's really nothing that Shark can do at this point.
I mean, this is just one of the most brutal ways for a Terran player to be eliminated. He's got a little bit of fight left in him, but look at those supplies as well. Jaedong ahead by like 60 supply. More and more Ultralisk being rammed down the main path of attack currently. He still is waiting on that +3 to finish. It'll be done any moment now, but the problem is Jaedong delayed that starport for so long. He's got a few valuable seconds of this timing attack that this +3 won't be finished, so he can just go clean up on RL5 non-stop, and there's never going to be a critical mass of bio to hold these massive cows at bay. Sharp wish he was born into a farmer's family to have any idea on how to deal with this cattle.
The Ultras here not taking the best trade at the end of the day. There's pretty good surface area there for the Marines to keep attacking, but he's managed to pick off a few more vessels, and he's got just so much pressure going that Sharp is going to have to tap out. GG is called, and we're going to go to that Flash Jaedong final. All right, guys, Flash is back. First time in tournament in the KCM, at least. He's spawning down here in the bottom right-hand corner after all the struggles he's been through with the crypto scandal and, of course, his wrist injuries and going to the military and going through all of that craziness. He's finally here and ready to perform. I am so looking forward to it. I've been looking forward to this for years, Shun.
Yeah, it's going to be spectacular. We've been waiting a long time for him to join us in the KCM yet again. He's been refurbished, sent off to the Android Repair Center, has his wrist screwed on tightly, and hopefully will be able to perform well for us here today against none other than Jaedong. This is going to be a rematch of such epic proportions. These guys have faced off against one another countless times. There's been such craziness between these guys. There was one point where the power went off in a game where Jaedong had gone crazy Zerg, and Jaedong was technically slightly ahead, so they had to give the game to Jaedong, and even Jaedong wasn't happy about taking the win. He wanted wanted the power to stay on and keep that crazy game going. Unfortunately, though, sometimes it's not meant to be, and both of these players have such reverence for each other and respect. Like, Jaedong considers Flash a god, and Flash has so much respect for Jaedong as well, and these guys have made each other cry in interviews. It's been a very passionate rivalry between these two, and it's great to have them up against each other in an official match once again.
Yeah, for me personally, this is the rivalry that really brought me into Starcraft Broodwar, and ignited that fire inside of me to really keep up with this game through the ages. It was about the time when I was discovering Korean Brood War, when these two were facing off over and over again in those Caspa era tournaments. And I mean, it's been such an amazing rivalry. You said it. You did an excellent job there, Shun, just kind of animating that for us in our minds. And I'm just extremely excited to see these two play. As much as I want to see Flash versus Solkey, this is a match for the ages.
Oh, absolutely. I was drumming on my legs waiting for the game to start. Excited to see what we've got in store for us. I don't even necessarily care what happens. Just seeing them against each other once again is already a treat. And who knows, maybe we'll see absolute fireworks from these two. They played against each other countless games in the past, both in practice and in officiated matches. Who knows what they've got in store for us here today. Seems like Flash has elected not to go for a straight-up mech opener like you were expecting it being a possibility. We've instead got a Turax Academy play. It's very close spawns here on Metropolis with the bottom right and bottom left, so Flash could utilize that to go on the offensive here. And if Jaedong was to take this near base at the 6, which he won't want to, it'd be hard for him to defend, so he'll instead take a base that's much further away and maybe opening himself up to some lines of attack from Flash at this stim timing.
This is very smart from Jaedong. You can see he brought that SCV, the scouting SCV, very low, and then brought the rest of the links back into the natural to make sure that he can prevent this. Oh, it's on a mineral walk command, but he forces that down. It still does get the information about the Spire, though, so everything has been revealed here for Flash, despite this very diligent play from Jaedong to try and prevent that scouting.
Yeah, I mean, the Turax lines up really nicely with the 2H Lurker opening anyway, but just knowing for sure that's what you're up against will make Flash's job just a little bit easier. You can assume in StarCraft, but you should always confirm, especially when you can. A single Zergling might actually squeeze in here for a scout. Firebat not quite body blocking that well enough, but we'll just go on the offensive here, not even bothering to stay back at home to block run-bys. He wants to go pure aggression. Has got a second Firebat that's going to deny. Oh, he catches the medic though with those Zerglings. Doesn't quite kill it. One more hit from the claws to kill that medic and didn't quite find it. Evo Chamber going out in front as well to block surface area from doing critical damage to these Sungans. But good target firing will make one of these Sungans die in quick order. Good target firing there from Flash, splitting off some of the Marines onto the Lings and one to finish off the Sungan colony now behind the safety of these mineral patches, pulling the drones off the mine mineral line to buy some valuable time for himself to get these Zerglings in here, clearing up these bio units before going back onto those minerals. A nice little timing attack there from Flash, but didn't actually kill too much of the economy of Jaedong to put himself too far ahead, so Jaedong's still in an okay spot.
Yeah, that was crazy. Jaedong actually got in and killed that medic, the one that was on 5 HP. He flanked again with the Lings and managed to get that kill. Barely survived the pressure here from Flash. Getting in behind that mineral patch with a medic would have been disastrous, but he managed to kill that medic, managed to block it from getting behind there, and now he's putting on some pressure for himself, getting these mutas into the face of Flash and trying to deal some damage to him while he's still getting these turrets online. He almost managed to delay the eBay inside of Flash's base, which could have been massive. A single Firebat moving out on the map, not going to be able to scout that base in top left, but should be able to figure that out without too much problem. That's pretty typical location for the Zerg player to take at this point in the meta.
I just love the tenacity from both of these guys. Even when there's like hardly any units on the screen, they're still trying to throw stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. It's like having two mad scientists in a scrapyard putting together war machines as quickly as possible to dismantle one another. And very quickly, those war machines get more and more dangerous as time presses on. Flash already moving out again with another timing attack. Jaedong has 8 Mutalisks in the sky, just dogging those units, looking for any opportunities, but Flash is very on top of his bio control right now. If you look on the minimap and see where that yellow rectangle is, it's going to be almost always looking at these bio units while macroing back at home off of hotkeys. It's so important to stare at your bio units when you're trying to move out onto the map like this, and you can see Flash is just adamant in not letting anything slip through his fingers. Nearly lost track of his medics there just for a second, like a lot of Terran players would, but he's right back in control.
2 Marines being broken off to head over towards that top left. He even catches some of the rallies as well. Jaedong's having a hard time keeping control here. A few of these drones could end up going down. 1 Mutalisk comes back here. 2 drones fall. Still enough there to continue mining that gas effectively, but he's losing mutas on the map. Dude, Jaedong's starting to fall apart a little bit. And you know those interactions you were talking about earlier, going back and forth? Flash is starting to get the upper hand in those trades.
Yeah. There's now 10 Mutalisks, so he can technically hold off this force, but Flash wants to force any kind of response. He just wants, you know, a Sunken to be thrown down, any kind of panic from the Zerg, just so he's not as well saturated with drones as he could be. And doing a good job of that. You can see Flash sitting in a square formation there, just waiting for the Mutalisk to come in before he fully commits to engaging with them. While you're in transit, you're susceptible to being shaved down to a nub, but if you sit in a square formation, it's pretty safe and gives you a few moments to go back home and macro before looking at your army yet again. And Flash is pretty king at that kind of cycling and understanding what he has to do with his task switching ability and forcing so much interaction out of Jaedong and catching the Mutalisks when he can. It seems like Jaedong is just barely hanging on, but now he's desperate to clean up this Bible. Has another pack of Mutalisks coming in and will be able to get the cleanup on aisle 5 on this bio group at long last, but he hasn't made any drones here in the top left. He had 1 mining minerals in that top left base for a long time, and Flash wants to do a tank push.
Yeah, I mean, having this many mutas left over after killing the Bile Ball is pretty great for Jaedong, but like you said, not a lot of economy behind this. He's going to dive right on top of this Bile at the natural, so he might be able to just, by default, shut down the tank play. Wait a second. Oh my gosh, this has completely gone awry. Jaedong diving in way too deep there and splitting his shots too much. The medics are able to keep most of the Marines alive, and he actually swings that fight. I thought the Jaedong was going to overwhelm that there.
Nah, these guys are fighting in a scrapyard, saying, so the war machines are falling apart as they're brought to bear, but they quickly go back into the heap to reassemble a new endeavor to throw their opponent's way in a few moments here. It's kind of insane, just the level of aggression and execution from both sides that we're witnessing, and that's a testament to the experience that both of these two gamers have, especially against one another. You can see both of them at over 400 APM right now, firing on all cylinders. Flash just hoping his wrist stays attached during all of this while he tries to dispatch Jaedong in the same fashion that he has many times before. But Jaedong has given him a really tough road in the past and made him run for his money many times, and looking to do that here yet again, trying to desperately slow down this tank push at all costs. Diving in now, can he snipe one of these tanks? The answer is no. Flash is a little bit too good at escorting these units across the map.
Yeah, there is a vessel here now as well. Lurkers are being made at that natural. They're going to give him a little bit of time. They're going to buy him some precious seconds to get something else out, but how far along is he when it comes to the Defiler play? Is he going to have that Defiler mound in time? Drop him back here just a little bit with the tanks. Gonna go ahead and just outrange those lurkers. Nice snipe on the vessel. Very good snipe on the vessel, and these lurkers are still alive. 2 of them here at the bottom side, but the Marines can start to slide in.
Wow, GG is cool. What an epic showdown between Flash and Jaedong. I'm so glad that Flash was able to play here in the KCM. It's not quite over yet. Jaedong's been eliminated, but they can revive either Hero, Queen, Sulky, or Jaedong. It could be Jaedong just for the epic rivalry showdown, but Sulky, technically the superior player, might get that pick. Who knows what the Zerg dugout will decide to do. They might just revive Jaedong out of principle because of the rivalry and the fact that Sulky got eliminated quite easily, whereas Jaedong had a really good fighting chance there for a second, maybe just mismicroed a little bit and got a little bit too over eager with those Mutalisks. For a moment, it did look like he had a critical mass of Muta Cloud to just overwhelm the small counter bio on the ground, but kind of just overstepped his boundaries a few moments.
Okay, Sulky is going to be brought back, and we're going to see possibly a back and forth here between Flash. If Sulky is able to take down Flash, then there's still another revive for him in the pocket. I'm kind of split on this Shun, whether I wanted to see Sulky get that revive or Jaedong. Both pretty darn epic, but I'm glad to see at least one match between Sulky and Flash.
Well, before you guys take too much of what I said at face value and be like, yeah, it should be Jaedong, I also want to point out that Sulky is a very OG Zerg player and has, you know, had many games against Flash in the past as well. So both of those players have a lot of history with Flash, and Sulky definitely more dominant than Jaedong in the scene. And I think we would be a little bit remiss if we didn't see how Sulky and Flash stacked up against one another here in the climax. So I'm kind of, it's a kind of a win-win for me. Like, I'm happy with the Jaedong rematch, but I'm also happy with seeing how Sulky stacks up against Flash on an actual official match here.
And I think we have a very good chance of seeing Flash open with some sort of mech, maybe a Valkyrie play, because it's hard spawning down here in the bottom left. We talked about it before.
Yeah.
I think the most difficult spawn location here on this map, and he is going to struggle if he wants to do some sort of a bio play. Sulky definitely capable of pulling apart basically any Terran player who's trying to play bio on this map in this spot.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm curious to see what adjustments Flash deems necessary here. Has got a first scout against Sulky's. That's already the first star has a line for him going forward, but it's only a small victory for Flash. He needs a lot more to go his way with these spawns, but it's a nice little moral victory here, getting inside quickly with this SCV scout and yeah, kind of just taking his time. He's identified the Flash, the gas income here. He probably is pretty sure about this being like a, you know, a committed 2-hatch build rather than a 2.5 hatchery now. He's going to see that layer timing as well. That's really going to tip him off that this is actually going to be a 2-hatch Mutalisk build, and pretty early gas here from Flash. Doesn't necessarily mean mech though. He took it late enough that this still is just probably going to be a bio build. We'll have to see. It's going to be a +1 build here from Flash, and that's an okay choice here. With these positions, it can be a bit awkward. You haven't got a lot of bio units to thwart that initial Mutalisk pressure, but eventually once that +1 kicks in, you can go on the counter offensive pretty quickly.
Flash really taking advantage of the fact that he got that early scout. That first scout means that he didn't even build the Marine until just now. So he was able to optimize pretty heavily, getting this gas out very early on and getting this engineering bay out right away. He's going to have a glut of minerals here to be able to throw down that 4 racks and really start to put the pressure on once all of those upgrades are done. But can Sulky get in and deal some damage before all of that happens? Can he get in here and break Flash apart, or at least get enough critical damage to really take the wind out of the sails of this 4x play?
Yeah, I'm not so sure, but look at this from Sulky. This is pretty standard, taking an on-base location third here. It's a little bit on the greedy side, but he's feeling pretty confident that there's no answer from Flash. You need to kind of have a 2-Rax to even be able to do anything about this, and he hasn't got that 2-Rax to do so. And Sulky kind of sniffed this out and knows that he's safe to just go for this on-base location third and not even bother making a sunken colony here. He's going to really quickly identify and line up with what Flash is doing as well. Min-maxing going on both sides of the aisle, and this could be a very special game, Sam.
Yeah, not a lot of interactions so far as that fourth Rax comes down for Flash. He's gonna get those upgrades rolling, and Sulky just gonna move towards that third gas geyser as soon as possible. Are we going to see Hydraless Defiler come out of Sulky here? I think it's pretty likely, as that fourth base is going to be very difficult to take. Probably going to try and take that in the top right-hand corner, but with Flash having this much power coming from these racks, it's going to be a real difficult thing to hold on to, even just these three bases with 2 ramps going into that third.
Yeah, I like this from Flash, though, taking a bunker here at the supply depots. He's got a zoning turret at the bottom of the ramp. He's kind of playing this similar to how someone like Mihu would do this, and kind of like spread out their turrets quite a lot initially, almost like against Protoss would. But this is going to help him out a lot in keeping control over some of these zones against the initial Mutalisk force, and help him ramp up his bio production enough that he can start to fight this back in a very strong way. He just needs to avoid a few of these bio units being shaved off too easily without worrying about Ling run-bys or commitments onto trying to bust open this natural right from the start, and or the turret positions getting overwhelmed. And if he can avoid those things and start to ramp up really heavily in his bio count, he can go on the counter-offensive and really make Sulky hurt. Like, Sulky's like a really big glass cannon right now. He doesn't want to make any sunken colonies. He's just ramping up with his Mutalisk production while churning out 3 gases. If somehow Flash does some good target firing on these mutas and goes on a warpath, Sulky will have to respect it and then lose a lot of his economic potential.
You got to respect the optimizations here from Flash as well. Look at he built 3 or 4 medics on only about 3 Marines before getting the Marines out a little bit later on. So he's got a lot of energy here to start to threaten Sulky, to keep moving and keep stimming and pressing the issue here. His +1 should have just finished up, and his range is of course done. 3 Sunkens being forced out of Sulky, and he might go on the offensive actually with all of these mutas. Start to dive in and go into that back corner while the Sunkens kind of do the defending duty on the other side. And yeah, he is moving that direction now. Gonna dive in on top of some of these turrets. Flash sending it across the map right now. He's actually turning around, bringing the Marines back home, realizing that he could be in a lot of trouble if there's enough Sunkens to defend his attack back at home.
Yeah, Ling run by as well, coming in to provide a lot of punching power. He definitely needs to pull this army back home to defend. He's going to lose that turret for free in the main base as well. Preemptive repair wasn't quite quickly enough timed. He's even going to be able to cancel that starport potentially if he's not careful. Yeah, he does cancel that. Flash in a lot of trouble right now. Sulky just ramping up the pressure more and more. Any more missteps from Flash and Sulky's going to run away with this game. He's already got more Zerglings in production to keep this attack alive while he's doing his full-on transition. Queen's Nest and Den going down at the third base. He's hiding that from Flash, so when Flash scans the main or natural, he doesn't see the tech transition and thinks that he's potentially all in, and won't necessarily expect the all in from the transition from Sulky, and then also kind of misread the situation and not produce that starport quickly enough as a result. And no matter what happens, Sulky's going to be putting himself into a better and better position.
Diving through right now, only 6 Mutalisks, so he's not able to one-shot SCVs at this point. Flies out of this corner and gonna reunite all of these Mutalisks together in a big group. Marines starting to push out here, but no medics with this army means that he can stay here and just kind of abuse this with the hold position micro, killing a lot of these Marines. Flash, thinking that he was safe there, actually comes out a little bit too cavalier, and now the Lings are getting right up on top of this. Mutalisks Brutalists are killing so many Marines. He's actually going to dive right into the main on top of the turret, start to kill all of those off. The Lings are running rampant over everything, and there's about 5 medics here with nothing to help defend them, and GG is called. Wow, Sulky rips through Flash here on Dominator. That bottom left spawn, pretty difficult to deal with. Okay, our final game of the night. We've got Flash spawning here in the bottom right-hand corner, Sulky in the top left. Of course they revived Flash, and that's definitely the right choice in this situation, and I'm so glad that we're having a rematch here between Sulky and Flash.
Yeah, they'd have like some people with torches and pitchforks at KCM's door, I think, if they didn't revive Flash in this situation. So a wise move when all's said and done. And let's be honest, this is going to be a much easier game for Flash. The one thing going for Sulky is that with this trench here, makes it a little bit harder to sunken bust and what have you, but usually Sulky's not making many sunkens anyway. He's such a good player that he almost gets away with never having to make one in most of his situations, with just how well he's min-maxed with his build order timings and mutalist micro and what have you, and the trickle of Lings to support those air units at the right timings. But yeah, I think you have to revive Flash in this situation. How many more chances are we going to get him out on center stage? And I don't think he's planning on making an ASL run, or will have the practice time to do so. And he's admitted that he's a bad loser and that he just can't handle losing in those kinds of events. So he would kind of probably hate himself for sub-performing in like a round of 16 situation and being eliminated early and not having a fun time of it. So we might not see him in the ASL, so all the more reason to get him here in KCM.
Yeah, Flash, he is a true competitor. He has that competitive spirit through and through. He's not going to be happy taking a kind of a bad run in the ASL and not really taking it serious. 2 drones are going to be pulled here, as Sulky's pretty sure that this is a fake, and indeed it is. No Marines have been made on the side of Flash. He's just going to cancel this bunker here in a moment and go ahead and throw down his CC in his natural. I'm calling it right now, Shun. This is going to be a mech game from Flash. I can feel it.
I mean, you might be right. He hasn't made any additional Marines yet. If he takes his gas in just a moment, it could be. We'll have to wait and see. He's just now taking his gas at 17, so you might be right. This could be a mech play. And it's cross map as well to buy him a few extra seconds, so the slightly later gas, not really that big a deal. It is going to be a sort of bunker expandy kind of mech timing.
Oh, okay.
But we'll have to wait and see. Okay, never mind. Never mind. False alarm. He's definitely going to be doing a +1 build here, but hasn't made a single Marine yet. He's really cutting corners at the moment.
Well, that's unfortunate. He might still go for a mech transition a little bit later. We are here on Knockout. Very big map, new map. And I think there's a lot of good positions on this map for mech. You can get on these high grounds, especially at that 3rd base, that mineral-only base, and kind of control a lot of ground with that tank play. And so I think it's quite strong here. We'll see if Flash agrees, or if we even get to that point. Gonna go ahead and block that SUV. Nicely done there. Flash gonna lose his scout early and won't really be necessarily clued in to what the follow-up's gonna be from Sulky, although the chances are very high that it's just going to be a straight-up Spire play, and there it is. Spire pops down here, and Sulky going to open up in just a very normal fashion.
Yeah, nothing too surprising at all. The only thing that's really different is we've got a slightly greedier opening here from Flash, and the fake bunker rush pulled a few drones off the mineral line for a little bit to pay for that bunker rush, and also allow him to get away with not making a single Marine for quite some time and getting a very crisply timed CC as a result. So maybe that's like better economy working for Flash, and the fact that he hasn't got a bad spawn on Dominator to contend with. Maybe he'll give Sulky a much better game here. Sulky taking the natural in the bottom left as his third on location. I really do want to see an epic drawn out game between these two contenders.
Absolutely. Flash, his late game, especially with the mech, is insane. This guy is so freaking good. I do remember that match you talked about earlier between Jaedong and Flash where the power went out, and it was kind of a ridiculous series of events during that incredible final between these two players, but or between, excuse me, Flash and Jaedong, but just the macro displayed back then, like nobody was able to pull off SK Terran like Flash was. The amount of barracks and marines that were spilling out of all of his bases, he had so much pressure that he could apply to these Zerg players, and on 2 bases was able to produce more than basically anybody else.
Yeah, back in the day, it was just kind of a lot more rarer to see that clean of macro. It was like I Love Uv macro mixed with the genius of Nada or something. It was kind of spectacular to see, and these days it's a lot more different. These guys have caught up a lot. They figured out all of the optimization tricks and the min-maxing and the macro cycles and stuff. They've got it a lot more dialed in, so Flash doesn't like have this like mountain of skill differential anymore to leverage. Plus he's all very out of practice. He's one of those guys that needs to work hard to shine, so without the practice hours he's not quite playing at that same level of fortitude, but still giving us strong games here in the KCM. Pushing out now against Sulky, who's responding with some muta-link stabs of his own, utilizing the high ground transition. But Flash still adamant on pushing out, creating a lot of space for himself, and for the time being has kicked Sulky away from the rally point.
Those are some really good trades by Sulky, I have to say. Bringing the links forward right as the Marines are coming up the ramp, and then doing some crisp micro with the mutas as well. He's managed to shave this down quite a bit, and he's going to be bringing forward a good clutch of mutas to do even more of that good work. Getting another 3 Marines there, and it's getting close now that we may see Sulky just blast this small bioforce. Unless Flash wants to stay really passive and wait for more reinforcements, he could end up getting completely overwhelmed by Ling Muta.
I sometimes get chills when I watch like players like Sulky play. Like he's sometimes like darting in with the mutas right as the Marines are about to stim, because if you hit the Marines as they're stimming and they all drop down 10 HP each, you can sometimes kill a lot more than just 2 Marines with 1 volley, and you see that a lot with players like Sulky playing. They've got the internal mapping of the stim timers in, and every 10 seconds is perfectly tracked, and they go in just as that 10 seconds wears out, and they know the Terran's about to stim yet again, and just as they're stimming, they're making a big glaive connection to kill like 2 or 3 Marines at a time easily.
Yeah, I mean, this is the Sulky special right here, going in over and over again, excuse me, and just whittling this down and eventually coming up with a big round of Lings that completely wipes out this force. Gives him complete map control and allows him to do that transition, even get aggressive with the lurkers occasionally as well. And you can see he's hitting this transition point perfectly, has that Hydralisk Den done, and Queen's Nest is on the way now. So Flash, I mean, he still has, of course, a lot of life in this game, and he is going into what looks like a tank push to follow this up, but I'm not sure he's going to be able to break Sulky with that. Sulky is just playing very, very crisp Zerg right now. He's handling everything perfectly.
And the cross spawns aren't ideal for that tank push. You can just see how clean the Mutalist micro has been from Sulky. He hasn't even elected to produce any links. Doesn't feel like he needs to at this point. He's got a safety sunken at both locations as well, in case things spiral out of control, just for a backup plan. He's been able to saturate this third base quite nicely as a result. Pretty good connections there from Flash, but long term, Sulky always out trading him on the ground at the moment, and this could definitely start to slip through Flash's fingers if he's not careful. The tank push has to do something here. It's gonna be a little bit tricky just pushing across the map with these while escorting them perfectly. I'm not sure he's yet aware of these tanks, but the element of surprise will soon evaporate once the Mutalisks spot them.
Oh my gosh, 2 medics killed off there, right in the middle of that group. Sulky getting so much value out of these mutas every single game. He seems to have a better grasp on what to do with these units than basically anybody else, and he's going to rotate around as the tank push is coming in. Try to catch some reinforcements that might be popping out here, and in fact he's going to find the vessel, a tank, and a bunch of Marines moving forward here. Flash having a hard time controlling on both sides. He's going to lose this tank for sure, and there are a bunch of Marines that just went down in his natural. Sulky going to chase down this tank for sure, as he should. Science vessel coming up from the left, from the right, excuse me, and it's going to get caught. That is such a big kill. He's going to get rid of the vessel.
He didn't even get in a really offset. He had the energy and didn't quite pull the trigger on it, unfortunately. Lurker's coming in from behind as well, putting this army on a bit of a clock, and he's trying to stay on the high ground side of the trench to not have to worry about mischance, but now he's being forced down into that position and will have some mischances, and 2 tanks isn't quite enough DPS to chomp through this quickly enough. You usually need 3 to get the job done. It's still possible with 2, but it's a lot harder, and he's locking out this 3rd tank from joining from the outside. He has started to break through now. If the Mutalisks start to fall, he can still make it work, but Lurkers making their way downtown from behind, going to do a wraparound on these bio counts, now in range of the tank as well, locking out the bio from the reinforcement path to the east across the other side of this bridge. Tank cycled down to the bottom end of that trench, the last bastion of hope for Flash, but the light is being snuffed out slowly but surely by Sulky.
Ooh, this is a good move, running forward and killing these last 4 lurkers. He's still got 1 tank alive as well. Guardians being made on the high ground to just barely keep himself alive here. Sulky just going to have those in time to potentially push this back. There's just the 1 tank back there. It's still getting kills, though, and these Marines are pushing in. Here comes the Guardians. Can he actually kill anything here with these Guardians? Running forward, he kills one of the Guardians. Now going to start to kill a lot of these drones. Are you kidding me? Flash is making this work.
There's a few more morphing in, but that tank is dangerously low. Some links coming out will clean up that tank critically. Some more bio units coming in across the bridges, but there are more and more Guardians hatching out in the skies. Marines desperate to get underneath them. It also helps make the Lings do their job better. It does target fire down some of those drones as compensation to stay in this game. He's hoping he can turn this into a longer game. He can just trade well after killing a few of those drones. Maybe he still escapes, but the Scourge do find a connection on one of those vessels, and this is really problematic for Flash here. He doesn't even have any medics with this main standing army. They've just now started to make their way out onto the map from the rally point. Flash rotating around to the northern hemisphere to lay siege elsewhere on the map while taking a 3rd base at the 3 o'clock.
Well, Flash has done a fantastic job here getting in and just getting those little bits of drone damage as the transition is happening. Even though the game's not over and he wasn't able to break through, he got quite a bit done, and Sulky dropped to about 50 supply, man. 50 supply is just about death for the Zerg player, but he's going to be able to hold on for the time being. He just can't put any pressure onto Flash right now, and so Flash is going to be able to rotate, keep him on his back foot, and trying to respond in each location. Some of these irradiates are going to go down, and of course, we're going to have those Guardians come up. Maybe get a kill on one of these tanks. That would be nice. Get a kill on one of those tanks and start to shove everything back. He will get that. Guardians doing a lot of work in this game, and Sulky finally grabbing that 4th base.
Man, it's just so back and forth. It's like watching an anime showdown between like 2 rivals. You never quite know what's going to happen. I almost imagine them saying things to each other while they're playing. It's that in their faces. And yeah, Flash did a great great job of just barely breaking through the defensive line, siphoning off enough of Sulky's economy to keep the hopes of attack alive. These Guardians have played a very tactical role thus far, but now that the vessel count has started to strengthen a little bit, their value will start to diminish, and Flash will yet again apply more and more pressure to Sulky. The problem he's going to have is there's not that many irradiates available to him just yet, so Sulky, as long as he sharks around actively with some Scourge here and there, will make it difficult to blast through the lurkers underneath those clouds of Cheeto dust and actually get the kill move executed. But Flash doing a good job so far of stopping those Scourge from connecting at least.
Not able to get too many irradiates there. That was some really good control from Sulky with the Scourge, just keeping those active and making sure that Flash couldn't get one irradiate apiece on all of those lurkers and start to break through that position. Little Ling counterattack making its way over to the center right. There's not enough Marines here to stop this, and so he will have to react to that with some reinforcements. Darkstorm here over at this base, over at the natural, but drop ships have been made, Shun. I'm not sure exactly where those have been sent, but they're going to be coming up here soon. Plague as well. Flash going to be forced back.
Yeah, he likes some chili sauce on his Terran kebab, saying wants to make sure that meal goes down all the more tastier. More and more Scourge being produced. Do find connections, but haven't yet killed an additional vessel, so still a massive cloud of irradiate can start to be churned out by Flash. He's not being careful enough with his tank. Sulky surges forward and will probably kill both of those now, and that's taken away a lot of his siege potential. He's now predominantly reliant on those irradiates on the front line, as well as a big gamble of these drop ships really paying off in the bottom left. I don't think he's got a lot there actually, and Zerglings don't just barely see those drop ships enter. He's actually going to commit to the main base with those drop ships. I thought for a second that he was going to do a two-pronged assault and hit the bottom left whilst laying siege to the front line, but he's actually just going to try and elevate everything into the main base and go for a one last hurrah. But I think Sulky's going to be expecting this more.
Yeah, he's got to go ahead and drop out everything as split as possible. There's going to be Dark Swarms everywhere. And, of course, there could be Plagues coming soon as well. There's a bunch of Firebats in here, Shun. Firebats actually ripping these Lings apart. And now the Lurkers are having a hard time getting up this ramp. There's a drone there that's actually kind of blocking. And so the Lurkers have a tough time getting up here. Some of them are going to burrow not underneath the Dark Swarm. And so he's going to be able to back away, start to kill off some of these Evolution Chambers. This is so much damage coming out of Flash. He can target down the Greater Spire now or the Evolution Chamber, whichever one he desires. Everything can start to go down here, and Sulky is starting to fall apart.
He's got the +2 armor finish, but losing both of the Evo Chambers and the Defiler Mound doesn't feel good. Oh, he's going to lose the Ultra Cavern as well. Sulky starting to fall apart a little bit at the last hurdle, and Flash, with this third base established, has a little bit of life left in him to try and go all the way. Sulky, though, not yet dead. He still has the main hive alive, can replace those buildings and remake the Defiler Mound and what have you. So with that 4 bases mining, still has a good effort here. A dropship trying to make its way down to that bottom left. There's 2 Scourge, but they're separated, so only one of them finds connection on that dropship, and he's not yet pulled the trigger on going down into that bottom left 4th base. This is an absolute wild game we're seeing. Finally cleaning up the forces in the main base in the top left quadrant, but now Flash coming in for a lot in the bottom left. 2 pairs of Scourge kill 2 of those dropships. The other 2 unloading in a line. Some Lurkers siphoning off from the natural defense to come into the main. Some drones might go down in this main base, though. Good target fire from Flash, eliminating those. And now returning the fire onto the Lurkers that are repositioned, and more drones will go down as a result. There's only 1 Lurker in the defense. The Divider was remade, but the Divider down in the natural base right now as well, saying Flash might be able to break through here at the last moment of this game. Big Lurker detonation, though, died as it shot, so he actually did double damage and killed the Marines with 1 shot of spines. D-Matrix comes down onto the Firebat to keep the attack alive anyway. Some drones actually falling underneath that Cheeto cloud dust, and somehow, some way, Flash is still attacking in that main base and killing more drones, getting Marines behind the mineral line, forcing transfers back into the main base as well. No way is that Ultra Cavern going to go down.
Oh my gosh, I think it just might. Bringing forward some Lurkers now, finally getting on top top of this stuff, he is going to be able to clear out this attack. But, I mean, Flash is not done. He is just putting the pedal to the metal. Nobody is better at holding off crazy plays like this than Sulky, but even he is having a hard time stopping Flash right now. This endless attack, and it drops everywhere, is just really starting to take its toll.
Yeah, I really do. Like, I'm imagining like anime lines in my head of like Sulky being like, this guy, man, like frustrated that he can't quite clean up the defense as cleanly as he would usually. Though looks like Sulky has sniffed out this fourth base in the top right. That's a great move from him. Not enough forces up there to defend against that. Getting a cancel, and that's pretty huge. Flash desperately needs a fourth base online right now. Both the main and natural currently mined out. Just one base of mining. He really needs this base in the top right or somewhere else to be established to keep his hopes alive and strong in this game. He's got another gambit of 2 dropships going into the main base, but Scourge en route to intercept and do find solid connections on those. Unfortunately for Flash, only 3 Marines getting out. Swarm Cloud coming over the mineral line to protect the drones, and just impeccable defense from Sulky all around. But Flash isn't letting up. He's attacking down the natural in the bottom left as well. Luckily, there was a defile there for another Dark Swarm. Just Sulky always dotting his I's and crossing his T's and having the defenders in the right position at the right time. An absolute grandmaster level of defense from the Zerg here. And Flash desperate to find damage, but not able to do so, saying now taking his natural 4th mineral only location as a supplementation.
And now that aggressive style starting to take its toll on the Terran player. He's having a hard time getting that income rolling, and in fact floated his natural out to the 3rd, or out to the 4th, excuse me, and is going to try to continue on with this pressure, but is starting to fall apart a little bit. 21 minutes in now, a lot of these gases are going to start to run out, and look at this. Battle cruisers flying into the main. He's going to be able to establish a bit of a base head here, and then go ahead and drop in behind this on top of the position that's been opened up by the battle cruisers. And there's just no Scourge here to dive on top of that. Looks like he's going to get one of the battle cruisers, but the drop here could do a lot of damage.
Battle cruisers operational, but he's not going to take it slow, Sen, and he's trying to make it happen, putting the full pressure onto Sulky yet again with the 5-bats under the Dark Swarm. He's keeping his hopes alive. Now another elevator into the main base in the bottom left with 2 more dropships worth of units. Massive plague dousing all of those units as they try to pour out, though. Definitely trying to cripple the hopes of Flash here. He can't quite get on top of the drone line to kill them off as well. This is an absolute insanely good defense from Sulky, but he's being put through his absolute limits of his paces. Flash finally taps out. His wrist cannot keep up with things anymore, and the champion shows why he's so dominant in this era. Gets the clapper from KCM. Well deserved.
All right, no graph for today, guys. We're just going to go into this results screen, and I don't really know what's going to happen from here. Opening up with a crazy first week of KCM. Terran and Protoss ganging up on the Zerg and still not able to take down Sulky at the end of the day. Even bringing out Flash, the god himself, still not quite at his peak potential as he's kind of getting back into the swing of things and, you know, still dealing with his wrist problems. But he played some fantastic games regardless, and I think you're right, his wrist probably starting to hurt. That's likely the reason why he tapped out there at the end. I mean, he still had some life in him. He hadn't been really on the defensive yet. He was just kind of putting on the pressure over and over again, but was not able to break Sulky, and so that game was going to go long, and it was going to be very difficult to finish. So Flash taps out. Crazy, crazy first week of KCM. Don't you think, Shun?
Yeah. I think Flash was just sprinting as long as he could at the end there, trying to get the job done. But Sulky was in marathon mode. Like, he was prepared to go the distance no matter what. So no matter how hard Flash ran forward with his speed, Sulky was just keeping up with him at every junction with just pure conditioning that Flash is just not used to keeping up with in recent times. If he practices a lot, he certainly could deal with it, but not at the expense of without the expense of some pain in his wrist. And you got to kind of take care of your health at this point. So I think Flash wisely tapped out while he didn't, still had a wrist attached to him. I mean, maybe Flash can, get through with his what do you call it, rehabilitation and stuff, and eventually get into a situation where his wrist isn't hurting him as much. But I don't know if that's going to be a possibility. I mean, once you've done yourself in the way he has, it might be that he can't ever play quite to the same level again, which is a little bit sad, but also still a pleasure just to have him here joining us in KCM. We've been wanting it to happen for such a long time now, and to have him actually back here and even getting the clapper from KCM and kind of like, putting aside previous animosity was a real spectacle to see.
Absolutely. And guys, just a couple of announcements here before we end. We're not going to be, for the time being, streaming the KCM on SCTVEN. We're just going to be instead recording it together and then putting it together after the fact so we can give you the best possible audio quality. I think that we kind of sacrificed that a bit in order to add in the streaming component. So we're going to go back to the old way of putting together this production, and hopefully that's going to be the best possible result and the most favorable for your guys' ears. Let us know in the comments down below how you guys are liking this latest season of the KCM. Any comments are helpful, guys, and of course make sure to like the video as well and support on Patreon. Do appreciate it. Shout out to you guys. I won't have a Patreon opener for this first match here. I'm quite busy right now. There's been a lot of things going on, so I haven't gotten around to making that, but I will be making that here probably in the next week. So we will have another Patreon opener. But thank you guys. Shout out to you, Patreon supporters, for continuing to support this channel and this amazing tournament. And thank you for coming out here today, Shun, for finding the time, man. It's been a blast. And I hope there's going to be more great casts to come with more Flash showing up in these tournaments.
Oh, absolutely. It's always been a blast to cast with you, saying, and what better way of casting than debuting Flash in KCM and against Jaedong in a great showdown and almost taking out Sulky there at the end. I mean, it's really kind of crazy when you think about it. But yeah, I've been Jean, with me saying, and that's going to be all from us, guys. Have a great day. Thank you. Peace.